Restaurant manager dragged shy waitress to bathroom. Unaware Billionaire was standing nearby. The Friday dinner rush was chaos at the Copper Leaf, a cozy downtown restaurant known for its warmth, except tonight. The place buzzed with impatient customers, clinking glasses and hurried footsteps. Amelia, a shy 23-year-old waitress, had just joined the team 3 weeks ago. Her soft voice and nervous smile made her an easy target for the manager, Carl, a man who believed yelling was leadership. That night, a tall man in a charcoal gray suit sat quietly near the window, unnoticed by most. He had kind eyes but an unreadable expression. No one knew he was Ethan Cole, a billionaire tech investor and owner of the property the Copper Leaf rented from. He preferred to observe before acting, especially when evaluating human character. As Amelia carried a tray of hot dishes toward a family table, a customer's child accidentally bumped her. The tray wobbled and a bowl of soup splashed on the floor. Silence swept the room. Carl's voice thundered from across the counter. "Amelia! That's the 3rd mistake this week." Her cheeks burned red. I'm sorry, sir. It was an accident." Before she could finish, Carl grabbed her arm roughly. "You're done for the night. Come with me." He dragged her toward the staff bathroom, his voice low and sharp. "Do you have any idea how much that soup costs? You're paying for it out of your tips." A few customers looked away, pretending not to notice, but one didn't. Ethan. He rose silently from his seat, leaving his untouched meal behind, and followed them down the hallway. Inside the staff area, Amelia's voice trembled. "Please, sir, I need this job." Carl crossed his arms. "Then learn to work without being a clumsy mess." That's when a calm voice cut through the tension. "Is this how you train your staff, Carl?" Carl spun around. His face went pale. "Mr. Cole, I didn't know you were—" Ethan's gaze was firm but steady. "Clearly." He turned to Amelia, his tone softening. "Are you all right?" She nodded weakly, holding back tears. Ethan faced Carl again. "You're supposed to manage people, not humiliate them. You don't drag anyone anywhere, especially not in my restaurant." The words hung heavy in the air. Carl stammered, "Your restaurant?" Ethan nodded. "Yes, and as of this moment, you're no longer part of it." Carl's mouth fell open. He tried to protest, but Ethan's calm authority left no room for argument. After Carl left, Ethan turned back to Amelia. "You handled that with more grace than most people could. Take the rest of the night off, and come see me tomorrow morning." The next day, Amelia nervously knocked on the office door. Ethan was waiting with a warm smile. "You've got heart, Amelia. That's rarer than skill. I'd like to offer you a new position, front-of-house coordinator. Full-time with benefits." Her eyes widened. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll believe in yourself," Ethan replied gently. "Because people like you are why places like this should exist." Months later, the Copper Leaf flourished, not because of money or management, but because kindness had taken the lead. Customers often noticed how the shy young woman at the front desk carried herself with quiet confidence. Few knew that behind her gentle smile was a story of courage, and a stranger who cared enough to step in when no one else did. Weeks passed, and the Copper Leaf began to change. Word spread through the city about how the little restaurant with the shy waitress had somehow turned into one of the warmest dining spots in town. Amelia didn't even realize it was her quiet kindness that set the tone. She greeted every customer with genuine warmth, remembered small details, like how Mrs. Turner liked her tea with honey, or how the truck driver, Joe, always ordered extra gravy after a long shift. Ethan visited often, but never as the owner. He'd simply sit by the window with a book or laptop, observing the people and energy she created. One evening he called her over. "Do you know what you've done here?" he asked. She laughed softly. "Made sure no one spills soup?" He smiled. "No, Amelia. You've built a place people want to come back to. That's leadership." She blinked in surprise. "Leadership? Me?" Ethan nodded. "The best kind. The kind that doesn't need a title." It was a quiet moment, but one that would change everything for her. A few months later, the Copper Leaf received an invitation to cater a high-profile charity gala downtown. It was a big deal. Local press, city officials, and investors would be there. Ethan wanted Amelia to take charge. Her nerves kicked in again, just like the first day she dropped that soup bowl. But this time, something was different. She didn't shrink from the challenge. That night, the event hall glittered with soft lights and laughter. The tables were lined with elegant plates and the warm aroma of roasted herbs and fresh bread. Amelia moved through the crowd gracefully, checking on every guest, ensuring every detail was perfect. Near the end of the evening, the host took the stage. Tonight, we'd like to thank the Copperleaf for their incredible food and service. But more than that, we want to honor the person who reminded us that kindness and integrity still matter. The spotlight shifted to Amelia. Her hands froze mid-applause. The crowd turned toward her, smiling and clapping. She could barely believe what was happening. Ethan stepped forward, holding a small plaque. "For compassion in leadership and excellence in service," he read aloud, then added with a grin, "and for not giving up, even when the world tried to tell her she wasn't enough." The audience rose to their feet. Amelia's eyes glistened as she accepted the award, her voice barely above a whisper. "I used to think kindness made you weak, but now I know it's what gives you strength." After the applause faded, Ethan leaned closer and said quietly, "Remember that night you thought your career was over?" Amelia nodded. That was actually the night it began. Epilogue. A year later, Amelia became the general manager of the Copperleaf. The restaurant expanded to 3 locations, each one carrying the same simple motto carved into a wooden sign above the door: "Lead with kindness." And as for Ethan, he never stopped visiting, often helping out during busy hours, washing dishes or chatting with customers. He didn't do it for appearances. He did it because he'd once seen something that reminded him what success really meant: humanity. And on quiet nights, after closing, Amelia would stand by the window where he used to sit, watching the city lights flicker outside, smiling to herself. Because sometimes, the smallest act of courage, the one moment when someone chooses kindness over fear, can change everything. After the gala, the Copperleaf became more than just a restaurant. It became a story people told, about the waitress who was once dragged out in shame, but rose with grace. Amelia's photo appeared in the local newspaper with the headline, "From Waitress to Inspiration, the heart behind the Copperleaf." But fame didn't change her. Every morning she still arrived early, tying her light brown ponytail and greeting the kitchen staff with that same shy smile. Ethan often dropped by, not as a billionaire investor but as a quiet supporter. He'd sometimes sit near the counter sipping black coffee, watching Amelia guide new staff with patience and confidence. One afternoon, as the restaurant buzzed with lunchtime customers, a nervous young man spilled a tray of drinks. The sound of glasses shattering froze the entire room, just like that night months ago. But this time, Amelia was the first to move. She knelt beside him, helping pick up the pieces. "Hey, it's okay. Everyone's first week is messy. You'll get better." The boy nodded, his cheeks red, whispering, "Thanks, ma'am." From his corner table, Ethan smiled quietly. History had repeated, but with a different ending. Later that day, as closing time neared, Amelia found Ethan wiping down a counter beside her. "You don't have to do that," she said, laughing softly. "I know," he replied, handing her a clean towel. "But good places aren't built by money. They're built by people who care." She paused, looking around the restaurant, the laughter, the clinking plates, the warmth. "I used to think I wasn't strong enough for this job," she admitted. Ethan leaned against the counter. "You weren't supposed to be strong then. You were supposed to grow into it." "You did?" Amelia smiled, eyes glistening. "Thank you for seeing something in me when I didn't." He shook his head gently. "No, Amelia. You just needed someone to remind you it was already there." A year later. A light snow fell outside as the Copperleaf celebrated its grand reopening, now expanded into 2 new branches. The crowd filled the restaurant, laughter,